Hello everybody, welcome to the Wonky Angle, where I talk about electronic music, both new and old, and today I'm talking about the new-ish album from Chicane. The Place You Can't Remember, The Place You Can't Forget. Apologies if I end up pronouncing this guy Chicane. I keep wanting to say it that way, but it's Chicane. Okay, Chicane is the alias for Nick Bracegirdle. Oh, that's why he decided not to use his real name. So yeah, this guy is a British trance and downtempo artist I'm told is very much in the same vein as ATB. I have gotten lots of requests over the years to check this guy out, so even though I'm a bit late to this, I had to give it a shot out of curiosity. Yes, that does mean this is another review coming from a newcomer perspective and not from a longtime fan who's known him for years. And I'll admit, I didn't have soaring high expectations for what he could deliver. I mean, I love ATB, but mainly out of nostalgia from when I was starting out high school. His brand of commercial trance doesn't grab me in the same way as it did back in the old days. And spoilers, having listened to Chicane's stuff, I similarly get the feeling that I'd have been a lot more into him if I'd discovered him like 6 or 7 years ago. That said, knowing ATB as well as I do has made it possible for me to enjoy this type of music anyways. I liked pretty much all of Paul Van Dyk's stuff when I went through his catalog. May as well give this guy a shot as well. Can't hurt. So, here's my thoughts on his main studio album discography so far. Just skip the unreleased one. Okay, so when people say this guy is like ATB, they mean more like the second half of ATB's double albums, or combined with BT's IMA and ESCM days, in terms of the synth tones and patterns he uses. Like, there's no big commercial bangers on here, it's primarily downtempo and ambient material, and its most intense moments are still no more energetic than, say, Robert Miles' 23 AM. I'm admittedly not crazy about it myself, because I've heard plenty of stuff just like this, but better. But I will admit to having a soft spot for these kinds of styles. It's cool. Alright, this is a slightly better structured rehash of the last album. Like, there's a track called Halcyon from this thing, which is much better than ATB's Halcyon, but not even close to Orbital's Halcyon. And there's a track with Bryan Adams, which was actually one of the best on here, weirdly enough. And yeah, so overall, it's solid stuff. It's probably my favorite of his albums, though it's still not anything life-changing or anything. Okay, suddenly we've got some rock elements on this one. Seems some people weren't too keen on it, but I don't know. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. The atmosphere is just as nice, but it's got more energy like this genre typically should. The rock stuff gives it some more nice flavor to set itself apart from the crowd. And there's even a badass trance remake of Always by Bent, which immediately got all the thumbs up. Now, I will admit I kinda lost interest by the last couple of tracks since I got sick of that one singer, Jack Starks, but no, this was not at all the disaster I went in expecting it to be. It's a pretty cool thing. Okay, this one's got some tech house-y elements in there, ends up pretty close to like Deadmau5 circa 2008-09 sometimes. And it's a mixed bag. The instrumentals are consistently great and well produced, and I like whenever that's the focus. See Barefoot, Comeback, So Far Out to Sea, etc. But every now and then there's tracks like Middle Distance Runner with Owl City, or the two parts of What Am I Doing Here, which just do nothing for me. Or weird moments like From Where I Stand, which is a decent knockoff of Calvin Harris's I'm Not Alone. Or the out-of-nowhere Gary Newman sample on Hiding All the Stars, which was so awkwardly placed it just made me crack up. I mean, it has its moments for sure, but I'm probably not gonna keep the whole thing, if I keep it at all. Oh hey, nice Jean-Michel Jarre homage with that album cover. So, I'm told big chunks of this album are actually homage to the style of Sigur Rós, which I don't really listen to, so I wouldn't know. I'm guessing that's where the post-rocky stuff with Icelandic singers comes from. I think I preferred the stuff from here that's just like his usual stuff, but always nice to add some changes of pace. Not bad stuff here. Well, every commercial trance artist has to have the obligatory flat trendy disappointment album. This is probably Chicane's. It's not as bad as other flat trendy disappointments that his colleagues in this genre have delivered around the same time. Main crime of this album is just sounding like everything he's ever done before in the past decade. But yeah, this is pretty boring, and the title is kind of a lie on top of that. Which brings us to here. So, yeah. I don't know if I can honestly come away from all of this saying I'm a huge fan of Chicane, but I do like what I've heard. Like I said earlier, I think he's the kind of guy I probably would have been a lot more into if I were still in high school, back when I listened to ATB all the time. I mean, ATB is already not the kind of artist I feel like I'm gonna die on a hill defending or anything. Chicane, similarly, he's not a very creative or out-of-the-box producer, and he doesn't have the safety net of nostalgia to prop his stuff up like ATB does. But I definitely understand the appeal, if nothing else. He has a lot of good tracks that I had fun with. He's the kind of artist that probably helped a lot of people who wouldn't have otherwise cared about electronic music be able to dip their toes into the genre. And I don't think he's made me into a new fan of it or anything, and I don't see myself putting him into regular rotation, but I did pull stuff of value from his catalog. He's cool. If you're like a big commercial trance fan, you'll love you some Armin or Tiesto or ATB or Above and Beyond or any of those, Chicane will serve you well. And he also hasn't had any major screw-ups like Tiesto's Kaleidoscope or ATB's Contact. And he's not as much of a slave to his formula like Armin is, even though he's not that far off. I just think I might be too late to the train to jump on. Like, I might hang on to Behind the Sun or parts of Somersault and Giants, but I can't muster all that much enthusiasm for him or say he's anything above good to decent for me. Unfortunately, now I have to review this latest album here, which I really did not have high expectations for, because I'd already seen people describe it as a mildly forgettable, more of the same album, which meant I still wasn't going to get anything that would elicit much of any enthusiasm out of me, so wasn't looking forward to it all that much. After actually hearing it, well, okay, I'll give it this as better than I thought it was going to be. I mean, it is, in fact, not anything new from the guy, sticking to tried and true formulas here, but it's at least well executed for what it is. Certainly better than his last couple of albums. Am I going to hang on to it? Probably not. Heck, there's nothing particularly memorable or special about this album really at all, but there's nothing wrong with it either. It's well produced, it sounds good for what it is, I came out satisfied with it. It's a perfectly serviceable, chilled-out commercial trance album. You got your usual plucked synth progressions, warm pads, airy atmospheres everywhere. There's nothing you wouldn't expect out of this genre already going into it. Like, I think the weirdest moment on this album is probably the track Judder, which is like this weird electro or modern dubstep influence thing that just kind of comes from out of nowhere. Feels a little out of place, but even that still sounds like what you would expect Chicane's take on that sound to be. Manages to fit in an airy female soloist in the background as well. Aside from that, there's a handful of tracks which sound like they're bringing back some old 90s deep house-y sound, stuff like A Love That's Hard to Find, Chord-Less Yacht, and Nirvana. They all sound pretty natural coming from him, even sounding like a bit of a throwback to his early days in some ways. Really liked all those tracks. He got some more chill ballad-type tracks like the decent enough Serendipity or Rainbow, or the closer, Fear I Must First Let You Go, which I was hoping to enjoy more given how the singer is Chris James of Deadmau5 the Velt fame, but he's just kind of placed in the background and leaves no impression, and kind of disappointing. And as for the other tracks, the only one I outright disliked was probably I Came Here For You, thanks to 4 chords of pop. The opener, Running to the Sea, is fine, kind of ambient opener with vocals. The lead single, Gorecki, is one of the best tracks on here, also the longest at 6 minutes. Good performance, good production, warm and satisfying stuff. There's a pretty nice instrumental, 10 Deep, by the end that has some cool horn sounds. And that's pretty much everything. This is really not an album that provides, like, any discussion material. I was half expecting my review of it to basically chalk up to, it exists, and yeah. That's kind of it. I will say if you have been a Chicane fan who's been underwhelmed by his last couple of projects, this one's at least his most easily enjoyable in quite some time. You get a couple of cool 90s throwbacks, but if Far Away from the Maddening Crowds changed your life and you want something to get that kind of reaction out of you again, it's worth a shot, but I doubt this is going to be it. It's just an extremely safe album that I'm not going to remember or care about or even really think about again. But yeah, it did have some cool stuff on it. It's not bad. I enjoyed it enough for what it was. But yeah, between showing a place you can't remember and a place you can't forget, this album definitely delivers the former. So yeah, I'm overall feeling a 6.7 out of 10. But of course, this is just my opinion. You can feel free to disagree with it, but I'd like to hear your thoughts, so leave the comments in the comment thing down there. Shout out to my Patreon supporters, they're awesome people. If you want to add yourself to that list or make me review something, link to my Patreon is in the description. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all for today. See you next time.